Okay, so imagine this. You're at a concert, right? The music is pulsing, the crowd's totally losing it, and then dot boom, the lights hit the stage, and it's like perfectly in sync with the music.
It's electric.
Totally. Have you ever stopped to think about who's actually behind those lights making it all happen?
It's like this unseen force that can make or break the energy of a performance.
Totally. It's not magic though. It's the lightboard operator, and honestly, their job is way more technical and artistic than people realize.
Yeah, it's a role that most people don't even know exists, but it's crucial for creating those immersive, memorable concert moments.
And that's exactly what we're diving into today, the ins and outs of being a lightboard operator. We're lucky to have RoleCatcher.com as our guide. They have this incredible database of career insights, especially for these behind-the-scenes type jobs.
RoleCatcher is seriously amazing for anyone who, wants to explore different career paths, but their lightboard operator stuff. That's some next level insight. You really get a feel for what this career actually looks like, day to day.
So let's get down to it. When we say lightboard operator, what are we really talking about here? I feel like some people might think it's just pressing play on a pre-recorded light sequence, but I have a feeling it's way more involved than that.
Oh, absolutely. It's way more dynamic than just hitting play.
Yeah.
Think about those massive concerts with lights flying everywhere, all those crazy patterns, perfectly timed flashes. It's all happening in real time. The lightboard operator is basically conducting this visual symphony from their console.
And they're controlling all of that with, what is it called?
You
DMX.
got it. DMX, it's a protocol that basically allows the console to talk to all the individual lights, which we call fixtures. Hundreds of them sometimes.
So they're programming a performance with light, kind of like coding.
It's actually very similar to coding in a lot of ways. Each light or fixture has a specific address on this DMX network, and the operator uses the console to send commands to each one, telling it to change color, move, dim, whatever the cue calls for.
That's wild. I had no idea it was so technically complex. But it's not all tech, though, right? There's definitely an artistic side to this, too.
Oh, 100%. You can't underestimate the artistic part. Think about theatrical lighting, for example. Let's say there's a scene where the character is super conflicted about something. The lightboard operator can use subtle shifts in color and intensity to reflect that. Maybe watch the stage in cool blue light to give it that uncertain feeling.
Or like a super focused spotlight to make the character seem isolated, right?
Exactly. It's all about using light to enhance the story, create the mood, even influence how the audience feels during a particular moment.
That's so cool. And RoleCatcher really stressed how important career progression is in this field. It's not like you just walk in on day one and start controlling a massive arena show, right?
Right. There's definitely a path. You start with those entry-level roles, learning the ropes, setting up equipment, working with the senior operators.
Getting your hands dirty, literally. What are some of the things a brand new lightboard operator would be doing? I'm picturing lots of cables, maybe some last-minute problem solving.
You're not far off. You wouldn't believe how much goes into making sure those light shows look effortless. An entry-level person might be in charge of patching the DMX network that's connecting all the lights to the control system. Or they might be focusing and aiming the lights to hit the right spot on stage.
So even at the entry level, you're getting a taste of the technical and the creative, which is really cool.
Absolutely. It's a very collaborative environment, especially during rehearsals. The lightboard operator is working hand in hand with the lighting designer, the stage manager, sometimes even the director, to make sure the lighting fits the overall vision of the performance.
It's like an apprenticeship almost, right? Learning from the best. So when you move up from entry level, what does that look like?
So let's say you've got some experience under your belt, you're comfortable with the basics, you might get bumped up to a junior operator.
Okay, more responsibility.
Definitely. This is where you get to be more independent, programming more complex cues, figuring out those on-the-spot problems that pop up.
Less about the cables, more about the creative stuff.
Exactly. A junior operator might even work directly with performers during rehearsals, fine-tuning the timing of the cues, like to match their movements or, adjusting the lights to really make certain moments stand out.
It makes me think of a theatrical production where you've got that one spotlight following an actor across the stage. That's got to take some serious skill.
You're right. It takes a lot of precision. That's where the lightboard operator is really in the zone, working the console, understanding the rhythm of the performance. There's actually a technique called tracking that they use to program a moving spotlight, basically creating a whole bunch of cues that perfectly match the actor's path.
Wow, that's next level. It's like choreographing the lights themselves. So what about when a lightboard operator goes from junior to senior level? Do they basically become like the conductor of the whole light show?
Pretty much. At that senior level becomes a lot about leadership. You might be managing a whole team of technicians, dealing with these massive lighting rigs, hundreds of fixtures, making sure everything runs without a hitch, especially during the live shows.
Talk about pressure. They must have nerves of steel.
No kidding. Imagine a huge concert, right? Pyrotechnics are going off, you've got lasers, video screens, and everything has to be perfectly synced to the music. That senior lightboard operator, they're the ones making those split-second decisions, making sure the wow moments land at exactly the right time.
I'm getting stressed just thinking about it. This is making me realize that lightboard operation, it's not just about the technical side. It's like you need that sense of timing. You got to be creative, work well with others, and be cool as a cucumber under pressure.
Absolutely. And speaking of pressure, let's talk about the interview process, because you know that can be intense. RoleCatcher gives a really interesting look at what it takes to get a job in this field. They even share some sample interview questions, which is super helpful.
Oh, I love getting a sneak peek into that world. What kind of questions are we talking about? Any curveballs?
Well, a classic one is, tell me about a time you had to troubleshoot a lighting issue during a live performance. They want to know you can think fast and handle the heat because, let's be real, things go wrong.
I can only imagine. Live shows are unpredictable. A costume malfunction is one thing, but if the lights go out, that's a whole other story.
Exactly. So when you're answering that kind of question, you really want to highlight how you solve problems and stay calm when things get crazy. It helps to have a good story, right? Like that time a light went out during a big moment and you had to improvise a fix without anyone even noticing.
It's all about saving the show.
Yeah.
Okay, so besides that question, what other gems did RoleCatcher have about nailing those interviews?
They really stress that you have to be passionate about lighting design and you got to know your stuff, especially when it comes to the latest tech. You might get asked something like, how do you stay current with new lighting technologies and trends?
So you can't just be comfortable with the old stuff. You need to be a lifelong learner, ready to adapt to whatever's new and cool.
100%. This field is all about pushing the boundaries.
Yeah.
We're talking new LED tech, automation systems, projection mapping. It's changing all the time.
Yeah.
Interviewers want to see that you're excited about that stuff and that you're always down to learn.
Makes total sense, especially with how reliant this field is on technology. What about the collaborative part of the job? I know RoleCatcher mentioned that communication skills are super important.
They're crucial. Remember, as a lightboard operator, you're part of a team. You've got to communicate effectively with everyone. The lighting designer, stage manager, the performers themselves, everyone.
So it's not just about being a tech genius, you've got to be a people person too.
Exactly. They might ask you about a time you had to work with a difficult colleague, or maybe when you had a creative disagreement with someone. They want to see that you can listen, be flexible, and find solutions that work for everyone involved.
It's like being a diplomat, you need those conflict resolution skills.
Absolutely. And, being able to explain technical stuff to people who don't speak tech is really important.
So no throwing around terms like DMX addresses without explaining what it means.
Exactly. You got to break it down into plain English so everyone understands the plan and how they fit into the bigger picture.
It's really fascinating how lightboard operation brings together so many different skills. You need that technical side, that artistic eye, and those top-notch people skills.
You got it. Those are the things that really make a candidate stand out in an interview. They're looking for someone who's not just skilled, but someone who's truly passionate about what they do, a real team player, and someone who can roll with the punches because the world of live performance, it's always changing.
I know, right?
Yeah.
You go to a show and you just get swept up in it all, but there's this whole other layer of skill and artistry that most people don't even realize is happening.
It's true. People don't often think about the people behind the scenes, but they're the ones making the magic happen.
Totally. So for you, what's been the biggest surprise we've uncovered about lightboard operation? What stood out to you the most?
For me, it's the sheer variety of places where you can actually use these skills. We've talked a lot about concerts and theater, but lightboard operators are also in high demand for things like corporate events, fashion shows, even those really cool architectural lighting displays you see sometimes.
That's so true. It's like anytime you need to create an atmosphere or make something visually interesting, a lightboard operator can really elevate the whole thing.
No doubt. And what's even cooler is that this field is always evolving, always changing. We're seeing all these incredible new technologies like kinetic lighting, where the lights themselves are moving, creating these dynamic patterns.
Wow, I haven't seen that.
It's really something. And then you've got interactive lighting that responds to the audience. It's pretty wild.
It sounds like this is a field that never gets boring. So let's say someone is listening to this and they're like, I need to know more. I want to try this lightboard operator thing. What advice would you give them? Where should they start?
Well, I always tell people the best way to get your foot in the door is to just dive right into the world of live events, local theater productions, community events, anything really. Volunteer, help with setting up the lights, or see if you can shadow someone who's already doing it professionally.
Get some real world experience.
Exactly, because there's nothing like being there in person, feeling that energy, seeing how the lighting changes everything. And don't be shy about reaching out to people who are already working in the industry, lighting designers, technicians. They're usually super passionate about what they do and happy to share their knowledge with someone who's just starting out.
That's great advice. Networking is everything. This whole conversation has been a real eye-opener for me. I feel like I'm going to be looking at stage lighting in a totally different way from now on.
Me too.
Thanks for joining us today and for sharing all of your insights about this really cool and often overlooked career path.
It's been my pleasure, really. Hopefully we've inspired some future lightboard operators out there.
Absolutely. And for our listeners, whether you end up pursuing a career in lighting design or just have a newfound appreciation for what goes on behind the scenes, remember, there's magic to be found in the most unexpected places. Thanks for tuning in to this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.